说到网飞啊，很多朋友可能很熟悉网飞自制的很多神剧，比如最近大热的《后羿弃兵》，之前刷屏的《爱死亡机器人》等等等等，甚至很多时候网飞剧3个字就等于品质的保证。那么到底是网飞成就了网飞剧，还是我们最熟悉的文化娱乐产业？很多电影被迫停止了拍摄，
很多人给你穿小鞋。再比如说，在网飞没有休假制度，你喜欢休假就可以随时飞去热带的岛屿游泳。网飞的员工呢就是这样可以无法无天的。我相信很多人会非常的羡慕。不仅如此，网飞还给员工提供行业的最高工资，让你的理想和荷包可以同步丰满。那你可能会问，一家公司怎么敢这样做呢？给员工太多的自由，员工会不会就放飞自我，把公司给造没了呢？对此，在2020年底，哈斯廷斯就出版了这样一本书《不拘一格》，以此来回答外界的疑问，并且发自肺腑地说，如果你给员工充分的自由，他们会承担更多的责任。相信对于很多管理者而言，他们是非常的害怕混乱的。于是我认识的非常多的创始人，他们在公司内部不遗余力地制造了非常多的条条框框、规章制度，去回避混乱的发生。然而，网飞的做法就非常的不拘一格，他们喜欢在混乱的边界进行管理。对于这一点，我真的是久闻了，而且我一直非常的好奇，非常期待有机会获得来自网飞老板的直接答案。那么今天我们就很荣幸的请到了哈斯廷斯先生，这是他首次和中国读者见面。哈斯廷斯将为我们谈一谈网飞文化和他的这本《不拘一格》No Rules Rules。而且作为不拘一格的中文版的出版方，中信出版集团也特意邀请了奇迹创坛创始人陆奇博士作为同台嘉宾。陆奇博士2008年加入微软，任全球执行副总裁，而2007年哈斯廷斯开始担任微软董事，二人就此结下了深厚的友谊。那么话不多说，让我们有请2位嘉宾。
大家好，我叫陆奇，我是奇迹创坛的创始人，非常非常高兴有机会跟我的朋友Reed Hastings，他是真的是非常非常出色的创业者和创新者。大家其实都可以看到他在奈飞所取得的骄傲人的成就今天呢，主要是跟 Reed 有机会去interview 他，主要是一系列的问题有关于Reed 新的书叫 No Rules Rule 中文翻译成不拘一格书里面阐述了网飞是如何建立一个非常非常新，同时又有很大效益的一个创新文化，让员工有很大的程度充分发挥他们的创造力我希望今天的我跟Reed的对话和面试能够为中国的读者更好的理解这本书有所帮助谢谢大家。
It's an honor to be here today and to spend the time with Chi and with you. I'm so thrilled that our book, No Rules Rules, has a Chinese readership, which makes sense because there's so much entrepreneurial activity going on in China today.
Yeah, Reed, so great to see you. It's my distinct honor to be able to have the chance to interview you for a set of questions with regard to that book for the Chinese audiences and the readers. First question, Reed. In Netflix culture, there are 3 key aspects: talent density, increasing level of candor, and reduce controls, corporate controls. In terms of talent density, how did you realize early on its critical importance in building foundation of that new culture?
Well, I think when you start very small and you've just got 5 or 10 people, you really feel talent density. You have no process. You just have some amazing people. And then as you grow, things can get more challenging. And for some people, that's at 100 employees. For some, it's at 1,000. For some, it's at 10,000. And what you hear is time to grow up. Things are chaotic. We need to put process in place. And in fact, I did that at my first company. I thought every time there was an error, we put a process in place to prevent it ever happening again. So I viewed it like a software regression suite, and that was the basic model of management. And it turns out that that does work at eliminating errors, but that it also reduces creativity, because the people who thrive are the ones who follow the rules. And the people who do the creative work, you know, they don't always follow every rule. They're not attracted by like a process culture. They're attracted by working on the edge of chaos. And so the book, No Rules Rules, is about how to get the most creativity by managing on the edge of chaos, but not falling into chaos.
So, crystallize, when you hear you say managing the edge of chaos and unleashing the creativity. Before we get into the sort of the core of that, many of the Chinese leadership, the audience, are interested in one question though, particularly for startups. When you are small, when you're early, hiring top-notch talent has always been a struggle, a difficulty we all face. Do you have any tips, any lessons, advice for early stage company? Try to hire best engineer, best product managers and all that?
People want to make a difference in the world. They want their work to matter. So if you focus your pitch on why the work of the startup is going to make an impact, I think that's the most compelling thing. That gets people to do heroic things, is to change something, to make an impact.
Yeah, so well said. And now going back to sort of the core, managing the edge of chaos. I really like the framing.
Yes, I also agree with Dr. Lu that managing on the edge of chaos is quite an interesting playing of words. However, this way of management is a little bit tricky. It is hard to find a proper level of chaos when you want to balance the freedom of employees and the sound running of the company. It is like walking on a rope. With one step wrong, you may die. Okay, let's continue. Please, Qi.
Okay. The next question is sort of related to that. The key part of managing that culture is candor in communications. The question is, in your view or in your experiences, sort of how do you manage the level of candor? Sometimes if you over the edge, the chaos will be too much. And if you're under, the creativity won't be unleashed enough. Do you have sort of experiences and sort of framing on how you properly adjust or manage the level of candor in communication?
Think of human evolution, and we have evolved to be polite because we live in cities and villages, you know, around each other, and it's scary to be too honest. So this danger of being criticized or giving critique is very strong in our psyche. And what you have to realize and get permission to is if we can all be honest with each other, we can all grow more. And growth is good. Everyone acknowledges that. And then it's helping people deal with the pain. Because even as, you know, successful as I've been, when I'm criticized, I'm like, my heart beats, I get all red, I'm upset.
Yeah.
And I have to let go. And I try to remember it's like exercising. And, you know, when you're doing those last crunches, those last push-ups, it hurts. And you know from the pain, that's getting you stronger. So then it's helping say, okay, that's true of your muscles. It's also true of your intellect. So the pain is good. The pain is how you grow. The pain is how you get stronger. And if you can get people to be willing to take the psychological pain of the critique, because it will make them better and not break them down, that's great. Now, just like with exercise, if you do too much, you get hurt. It wrecks your body. Okay, so also on the critique, it wants to be supportive. It wants to be aimed, it's very actionable, very practical. So there's an art to doing it well, but it's getting through our psychological defenses that we all have, but are counterproductive for growing and learning.
So I think, Reed, what you said definitely resonates. I sort of myself experienced moments as you described the key framing of exercise and getting better intellectually.
Well, I'm sorry, Reed. It seems that Qi's side has a bad connection. He's offline now, and they are working on that to fix it. So let me continue with what you just said, okay? What you just said reminds me of the motto, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. No matter how painful the challenge is, it will only build up our physical and intellectual powers. Those unpleasing criticisms are essential nutrients to our growth. Nearly every success story has its darkest time, and Elon Musk is one of them that impressed me. I remember in an interview, Musk said 2008 was the worst year of my life. As Tesla was losing money, SpaceX was failing the third time to launch its Falcon 1 rocket, and he was getting divorced. But this year, as we all know, Musk became the second richest person in the world. And he surpassed Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. Musk also had a similar view with you, Reed. He once said that CEOs should spend less time on finance, spend less time in conference rooms, less time on PowerPoint, and more time seeking criticism of their product if they want to run a successful business. And this is I think this is especially true for many Chinese entrepreneurs who put themselves high up and tolerate no doubts or challenges. In reality, your success doesn't come from others' praises, but from the performance of your company. If taking criticism makes your company stronger, then it can be seen as a reward, I think. Well, I guess Qi still needs some extra time to fix it. If you would like to, you probably can talk more about Netflix. So how is your business in the States now?
The business is good because in COVID, people watch more entertainment. So
yes, sure.
We're like Amazon in that way where, it's a COVID benefit.
Okay, and your book, No Rules Rules, was sold very well on Amazon.
Yeah, anecdotally, it seems to be great because everyone I know is reading it. So.
Are you invited to give lectures or take part in big promotional activities for schools or organizations?
During this COVID period, I'm trapped.
Yes.
It won't be useful, so it's not a great match.
Okay. So I just wondering if you have to pick up like one chapter from the book to give a whole picture of the book especially to the Chinese readers. What kind of content you would like to recommend?
I would say our book is for creative organizations that are okay making some mistakes, some errors, as long as they invent amazing things.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I just got a message that Qi has fixed his connection. And thank you for your patience. Let's come back to the dialogue, okay?
It's a pleasure.
Okay. Hello, Reed, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Okay, sorry about logistics. Let's continue. So hopefully we can get back to the flow. So the question I was asking, next question, Reed, was regard to the feedback. In particular, Netflix overall developed a 4A feedback guidelines. Our Chinese leadership audience are very interested. There's a lot of interest. People are thinking about how we can implement that. In your experience, what are the key points in the 4A guideline and how the guideline can be efficiently implemented, particularly from your experience in Netflix?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Maybe our audience are not familiar with Netflix 4A feedback guidelines. Oh, the 4A feedback guidelines are aim to exist, actionable, appreciate, and accept or discard. Okay, now let's give time to read. Please answer Qi's question, okay?
I would say, Qi, it's about giving each other permission to be different than the normal social contract. In human life, you know, we have ways of being respectful and polite. And we have to explicitly say, we're going to do it differently at work because we can learn more. And let's practice. Let's give each other feedback that's, you know, uncomfortable at first. And so you can develop the muscle. And then every day have people say, give me some feedback, please. You know, you make it like, you normalize it by doing it, you know, more often than you need to. And so it's steadily learning so that it becomes comfortable at the end of the meeting to say, you know, I thought the meeting went well, but, you know, we really didn't get to this big topic, which we should do in a future time, you know, and that's not confrontational or disrespectful. So it's often these things are a tension of two goods. We admire kindness and we admire honesty. Okay? And we have to say, look, these are a tension. And normally we go by kindness and respect. But it will be better for our organization if we go more by honesty. So please, can we all agree that we will be, now it's productive honesty. You don't want people saying, I don't like how you dress, or I don't, or I'm attracted to you, or like, you know, there's a lot of unprofessional honesty that we're not talking about. We're talking about professional honesty to make the organization, and ultimately the product or service better.
Well said. Being frank is really important. And nowadays, honesty is a popular word, and in fact, it also wins consensus among many leading entrepreneurs. For example, the founder and CEO of ByteDance, Zhang Yiming, he really admires the book Winning by Jack Welch, especially the parts that emphasize the importance of honesty. Actually, nowadays, teamwork is becoming more and more important. Your achievements are based on the support of others. If you are not honest, you will hurt everyone, including yourself.
That's right. That's right. Reid, the next question is regard to the overall journey of implementing or creating Netflix wonderful culture, which is really centered around giving employee more freedom and enabling employees to take more corporate responsibilities. There's a lot of interest, I would say, based on even my interaction with people that I know about. But people also have anxieties. If I were to follow some of the suggestions, the potential problems they might run into. So the question is for you to share, when you've been practicing, pioneering that culture at Netflix, are there any pitfalls you run into, potential hidden problems that you didn't foresee when you ran into, and you have to adjust? Because there's more interest in practicing this, there's level of anxieties. If you can share sort of some of the things that you run into and you need to adjust, would be wonderful, and it would be very helpful for the readers.
The anxiety is sensible, because think of any organization as a complex system with a bunch of interdependencies. So you need to have the great talent density to be able to have the freedom, or else people just make a lot of bad choices. You need to be setting direction. That's the highly aligned, loosely coupled. So people know in what way are we trying to serve the customer. So, you know, there's a lot of interconnecting parts. So you can't just take one element and say that's going to work, because out of context, it probably won't work. And so it's building up confidence bit by bit that the goal is not to manage people. The goal is not to manage. The goal is to inspire people instead. So think about it as bit by bit, learning how to lead by inspiration instead of lead by management or telling people what to do. You know, the factory has been so important to our civilization, so productive, that the mental model of the factory bleeds into many other areas. And creative endeavors are just different than a factory. And yet we still have the boss top down, tell the workers what to do, orientation. So again, think of the shift being moving from management to inspiration.
Yeah, so this is terrifically articulated, Reid. Next question, I'm going to move the order of the question a little bit around because the question is related to what you just said. Specifically was related to corporations in China. For a lot of reasons, I think a culture, tradition, one-man control, the boss making decisions, sort of the common norm in many years. And transitioning into a different way of managing, particularly using context versus control. People see the potential benefit, but will be hesitant or fear of giving up controls. So you likely may have faced similar decision points as you work through from the early days of Netflix to its massive growth towards today's powerful position in the world. In that journey, how you've been sort of thinking about control in the context, in particular, giving tips or thoughtful experiences to the Chinese audience readership will be very helpful for a lot of readers who are thinking about this, maybe struggling a bit, just because the tradition, the common practice in today's corporate world in China.
So in the US, we've had many leaders like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, amazing leaders. And the stronger they got, they commanded more detail, they could give more instructions. And that's one way to succeed. Okay. You've got a genius, running the company and just get all the decisions to the genius and the genius decides. The challenge with those companies is they rise and fall with their genius and they become too dependent on the genius. And so even if you are such a genius, a pony ma, then it's like you want to broaden, you want the organization to last longer than you and to be healthy. So then it's building the muscle where you're doing less and less every year. In the startup phase, it's probably true that, the leader's going to make a lot of decisions because it's so challenging in the startup. But again, as you grow, you want to shift to building muscle so that all of the people are engaged and you've got, 300 and then 3,000 and 30,000 all continuing to improve and grow and think for themselves.
That's right.
Yes, I also agree with that. It is a common situation that people in a company put their CEO on the pedestal and let him give all the instructions, let him tackle all the problems, and let him control every tiny little things. However, the world changes faster and faster, and nobody is perfect. To face the challenges of the coming future, what a team really needs is less control and more context. In this way, employees can obtain more detailed information and make better decisions instead of letting CEOs handle everything. Qi, do you have any other questions?
Maybe to squeeze in, hopefully we can squeeze in two questions. One question, Reid, is from our readers, which is the following. As the company grows, when we start to give more freedom to the employees, the worry is the bureaucracy still remains. And typical happens is, as the company grows in scale, the bureaucracy still gets more and more to the point whereby there's a lot of decisions slow down and corporate efficiency also becomes a problem. People are interested in knowing your thoughts as we give more freedom to the employees, how we also work to reduce the level of bureaucracies as the company grows.
You have to compensate for that freedom to be preaching about the values, both of how people interact and about what the firm is trying to do, what areas to innovate in, what are the problems that the customers are facing. So if you bring alive the challenges and you're clear about the expectations on behavior with each other, then you've got enough guidance that independent people can figure things out and do them really well, as opposed to being told what to do and organized in the typical kind of soft factory manner. So again, it's not that you just turn the keys over and let anarchy rule. Instead, you're trying to lead through values and inspiration and setting context.
Yeah. Last question real quick. Reed, there's so many people in China look up to you as a role model for entrepreneurs, for innovations. Do you have any salient advice, key points you want China's young generation entrepreneurs, business executives to know?
I think some of the most exciting work is the global work like Tencent, has been doing all around the world. And I'm just a great fan of their such global ambitions, and that will help glue the world together. So I hope all of your listeners aspire to creating something that, of course, is successful and great in China, but is also successful and great in the whole world and brings us together.
Thank you so much, Reed. I think your wisdom and thoughts will mean so much to China's entrepreneurs and innovators. And we really appreciate your time today.
I look forward to seeing you in Beijing soon.
Yeah,
see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, Reed.
Okay, thank you so much, Reed and Qi. Thanks for your awesome conversation. 好的，非常感谢陆奇博士和哈斯廷斯精彩的对话。相信今天的对话会给很多中国朋友们带来全新的启发。今天的对话呢，让我想到了陆奇博士在《如何解构一家企业》一文当中发表的观点。他说，要做好一个产品，最关键的是文化，而不是人才。其实文化就像空气，它虽然看不见摸不着，却可以决定生死。此时此刻，我们的2021年已经开始了，大家也都站在了新的起跑线上。我们正处在一个充满变革的时代，一个波澜壮阔的时代。我们正站在从工业时代走向智能时代的拐点上。新的时代需要新的企业，也同样需要新的理论、新的方法。很多企业家、创业者朋友们都特别喜欢读书，但是很遗憾，市面上大量的管理学方法论都还是围绕着工业时代展开的。那今天的 Netflix 让我们看到了全新时代下更加灵动的、更加灵活的管理方法论，也让我们感受到更加不拘一格的企业文化和精神。因此呢，感兴趣的读者朋友们真的非常推荐大家去阅读研究一下这本书，相信你一定会喜欢。好了，今天的直播就到这里，非常感谢大家的时间。